Well, I'm back home in California just in time for a major storm. So we're having tons of rain and power keeps kind of flickering, high winds. Fun. So my question for you today is, does your profession have a shelf life? What's your plan when ageism strikes for you? And maybe you're lucky. Maybe you have one of those professions that doesn't matter how old you get, you're not going to face age discrimination. It's not going to hurt your chances of getting hired or doing what you do. I used to think that was true of tech, but I was just reading a story on Medium. It was written by an engineer. I can't remember how old he was. I think he was in his 60s, early 60s, and he was surprised and frustrated to see how hard ageism was striking him. He was finding it harder and harder to get hired, even though he was keeping up to date with languages and everything. And there was a mix of reactions in the comments. There were some people are like, oh, there's no such thing as age discrimination in tech and as an engineer, or it's your fault, you didn't keep up to date with stuff. And there were other people who were like, oh yeah, I faced it too. And I've had friends who would dye their hair and dye their beards as they went in for interviews because they knew it. They had literally faced it in interviews. They could tell how people were reacting, and they acted very differently after they had dyed their hair, which is kind of ridiculous. And it's real. I've seen it in Silicon Valley. I've been on the other side, the hiring side, and I remember one candidate coming in to interview, and this person was probably in their mid-40s. And during the debrief, one of the folks that was on the interviewing team said, I don't know if they can be creative enough. They're kind of old. And I looked at them and I said, what you said is illegal. That's age discrimination. You can't judge a candidate based on their age and make an assumption about their future creativity based on their age. It's discrimination. And I've faced it too. I've told the story when my startup co-founders went with me to raise funding. So we were meeting with various venture capital firms and angel investors. And we had one meeting with a couple of partners. And one was probably close to our age. The other was younger, a younger partner, probably early 30s. And he sat down and he looked around the room at us and he said, wow, there's a lot of gray hair in this room. Are you sure you're the people who can do this? It's like, I won't even bother telling you what I said, but I had a response for that. It's real. Come on. I have too many friends who tell me it's not, but I have just as many friends who've experienced it. And there have been lawsuits like with IBM that were filed and won when it's quite clear when you look at the larger numbers that they were getting rid of older workers. So it faces most of us at some point in our careers, even if we think it won't. So what's your plan? What's your fallback? What can you do to be ready for that? How can you create a plan B for you maybe running your own thing where, guess what? You're not going to discriminate against yourself. That's one of the reasons that I started to make my exit from Silicon Valley. It's clear there is ageism in tech, and definitely some ageism in Silicon Valley. And it rears its ugly head when you start to go out and do more interviews as you get over the age of, kind of 40, 50, definitely 60, good luck. So I had a plan B. That's why I run my own business. I can do whatever I want to do, and I'm not going to discriminate against myself. So what's your backup plan?